Thank you for joining us for this edition of First Chapter Fridays. In this edition, we will listen to the first chapter of Marcus Makes a Movie by Kevin Hart. So sit back, relax, and use your imagination as we listen to the first chapter of this book. Chapter 1, The World's Greatest Superhero. Deadeye wasn't just any old villain. He was a super villain, 7 feet tall, muscles like rocks, with a whole crew of henchmen, the Dead Boys. They were marching through Center City looking for folks to rob. Junior high was letting out. Kids were everywhere. Deadeye checked out the crowd. He spotted this one kid walking all alone. Skinny little boy with no muscles. The perfect victim. Deadeye came at him. "Empty them pockets, little man," he yelled. Skinny little kid took off. Deadeye and the boys chased him all the way down Main Avenue. Kid's heart was beating like a drum. They were gaining on him. He ran into Mr. Lee's deli, hid all the way in the back, behind the potato chip rack. Deadeye came in after him. "No fights in my store," Mr. Lee yelled. Deadeye didn't listen. He just grinned. Skinny little kid was cornered. The supervillain was fixing to break him in half. But it wasn't going down like that, because Deadeye, he made a big mistake. That wasn't just any little kid hiding behind those bags of chips. It was Marco Jackson. When Marco got scared, he gets mad. And when Marco gets mad, the change comes over him. He turns into Toothpick, the world's greatest superhero. Fighter for justice, defender of the weak, and a couple feet taller than regular Marco. He's still skinny, but it's a strong skinny. Arms and leg like steel wires. And those skinny fingers of his, they turn into finger spears. Razor sharp, fast as lightning. Cut the bad guys up like shish kebab. Squick, smick, zick. Toothpick busted out of that snack aisle with his finger spears snicking. Now it was Deadeye's turn to be scared. He and his dead boys ran right out the door. They didn't get far. Toothpick flew down the street, soared up in the air, and came down on them like a warbird. Squick! He stuck those finger spears in deep, right between Deadeye's. Bam! I jumped about a foot out of my chair. Bam, bam! Somebody was pounding on the door behind me. I set down the pencil I was using to draw a toothpick, sticking it to Deadeye. Bam, bam, bam! Quit that pounding, I yelled. Our apartment's so small, the front door's only about a foot from the kitchen table where I was drawing. It sounded like JR was knocking on my skull. Let me in! I knew it was JR even before I heard his voice. At 4 o'clock on a Monday, he's the only other person in our building except old Mr. Hampton upstairs. And Mr. Hampton doesn't go around banging on people's doors. I opened up for JR. "Why you gotta pound so hard, man? Why ain't you answering? You got headphones on or something?" "Nah, I was just drawing. Sometimes when I'm making a comic, I get in so deep, I stop living in the world. Dad says he could drop a bomb next to my chair and I wouldn't notice. JR squinted down at me. We're the same age, but he's about a head and a half taller than I am. You don't look like you got your butt whipped, he told me. Did you make it home before Tyrell caught you? Man, I don't know what you're talking about. That wasn't true. I knew what he was talking about. I just didn't want to talk about it. But JR wouldn't let it go. Dwayne said Tyrell and his crew chased you all the way from the bus stop to the deli. Then Mr. Lee made them leave while he let you sneak out the back. Don't listen to Dwayne, I told him. He's just ignorant. None of that happened. JR looked over my shoulder at the pages I was drawing. You making a toothpick about it? Don't go looking at that. It's not done yet. Too late. JR pointed at my drawing of Deadeye getting squicked. Is that Tyrell? No, man. That's a supervillain. Looks like Tyrell. Got that same busted eye. You trying to pretend you kicked his butt. Course not. Man, how many times have I got to tell you? Toothpick is not me. Then how come he looks like you? He doesn't. Do I wear a costume? Do I fly through the air? Do I have spears on my fingers? Bet you wish you did. Will you get out? Why are you even here? Shoot some zombies, fam. JR held up a copy of Army of the Undead 3. My eyes bugged out. I'd been hearing about that game for months before it dropped. Let's fire it up, JR said. He was already halfway down the little hallway to the living room. I can't right now, I told him. If my dad comes home and sees us, he'll take my game box away. Dad's got a rule that I can't do any gaming on school days. Even if he didn't, part of me wanted to keep drawing. It takes a lot of work to make a good comic, and I was feeling it with this one. I felt like I should keep going while I was still in a groove. But I'm not going to lie. Part of me wanted to shoot zombies too. JR sat down on the couch. Just a couple of minutes, he begged. It's only 4 o'clock. Your dad ain't coming home for hours. He had a point. Dad wouldn't be back from work until at least 7. I took one look at the comic I was drawing and another one at the TV. Army of the Undead 3 was already booting up. It looked pretty dope. I huffed out my breath and sat down on the couch next to JR. Okay, I told him, but just for a little. We gotta quit at the first save point. He handed me the second controller. For sure, we'll just play a little. 20 minutes, half hour at the most. That completes this week's First Chapter Fridays edition of Marcus Makes a Movie by Kevin Hart. Stop by the library to pick up the book to see how the story ends. Thank you for joining us this week. I hope you join us next time.